There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Please be seated. The Secretary will read the order.
Debate on vote number 33, Tourism Appropriation Bill.
I now invite the Honourable Minister of Tourism to introduce her budget speech.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and a very good afternoon to you, Deputy Minister of Tourism, Minister of the Department of Home Affairs, Professor Mkhize, Deputy Ministers present, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee and all members, the industry, our Director General and South African Tourism. My family is also here. A very good afternoon to all of you. The theme of our budget vote today is Sustainable Tourism for Development. The United Nations declared 2017 as the Year of Sustainable Tourism for Development. This is an initiative to mobilize the tourism industry, its stakeholders, partners from national, provincial, and local governments, international organizations, and the private sector to work together towards development and promotion of tourism that is economically beneficial, environmentally friendly, socially equitable, and culturally responsive. Tourism is a significant and critical sector in our economy as it contributes positively to the trade balance through foreign exchange receipts, sustains more than 700,000 direct jobs, and is performing stronger than the other growth sectors. Globally, we recorded our 7th year of sustained growth despite the economic slowdown. In the past year, South Africa recorded 13% growth in international tourist arrivals. This sector deserves more support and recognition in our country because it provides more opportunities and has lower barriers to entry. The sector is already contributing to our economy by supporting over 1.5 million jobs in total and bringing about 9% to our gross domestic product. Growth in tourism means that the prospects for growing and transforming our economy are significantly enhanced, not only for the tourism sector, but for the entire value chain that is supported by tourism. This presents a greater opportunity for integration with other 9-point plan sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, transport, amongst others. We recognize this potential and are working with our partners to maximize the social and economic benefits of tourism beyond just the sector. To build on this growth, we have revised our 2020 strategy, 2010-11 strategy after a review in 2015, and the new strategy, which is out for public comment, has its foundations on inclusive and sustainable tourism growth. Through National Tourism Sector Strategy, we aim to achieve our 200% growth in our direct contribution to the 2015 GDP figure of 118 billion to 302 billion in 2026. The indirect contribution to GDP will be just under a trillion rand at 941 billion from 2015 figure, which was 375 billion. We'll also add 300,000 more jobs to bring direct employment to 1 million from the 2015 figure of 700,000. This will bring the indirect employment to tourism figures to about 2.26 million. In his address at the opening of the Africa Travel Indaba 2017, President Zuma reminded us that in this, I quote, in this era of the fourth industrial revolution, which may threaten traditional jobs, the tourism's labor absorption capacity remains a great weapon against unemployment, unquote. This reinforces the call made by the World Economic Forum Africa, which was hosted in Durban 3 weeks ago, that Africa's economies should consider diversifying from commodities to services such as tourism in light of the challenges facing traditional industries. The President also contextualized our approach to radical economic transformation as, quote, program that seeks to correct the painful history of our country where the black majority was excluded from meaningful participation, ownership, and control of economy, unquote. He further indicated that for tourism, we are looking at 30% black ownership. Chairperson, the value of travel and related services consumed by organs of state annually is estimated at about 10 billion. This presents a transformation lever through state procurement. Furthermore, government controls allocation of other opportunities such as licensing of tour operators, gaming operations, including casinos, duty-free stores, car rental parking bays at strategic hubs, accommodation and retail facilities at state-owned facilities that are sessioned to operators. These areas further present opportunities for accelerating radical economic transformation, and we will work with partner departments to pursue this goal. Tourism in South Africa is on the rise. The Department of Tourism is using its budget of 2.1 billion to ensure that as tourism rises, the people of South Africa rise with it. We will deploy this modest budget to pursue the following strategic areas for tourism growth. Marketing takes the largest component of this budget at 53% or 1.1 billion. And the 1 billion remaining is largely distributed amongst tourism incentives, expanded public works program termed Working for Tourism, which includes skills development, destination development, and enterprise development. With South Africa's tourism budget at South African tourism's budget at 53%, it is our strategic intent to drive government imperatives through our entity. These include contribution to job creation and radical economic transformation, a targeted approach to positioning black enterprises in South African tourism marketing efforts is a critical part of fulfillment of that mandate. As the President said at the opening of the Africa Travel Indaba 2017, I quote, black entrepreneurs will be targeted to be the leaders in growing new markets in Asia, Iran, and the Middle East through various programs run by South African tourism, including participating in international trade shows, expos, as part of our country's radical economic transformation program, close quote. And this 1.1 billion will be deployed towards increasing our global market share and growing the domestic tourism market in a manner that promotes inclusive growth. Our goal is to attract 5 million additional tourists to South Africa within the next 5 years. Simply put, the 5-in-5 strategy brings our 4 million additional international tourist arrivals and 1 million additional domestic holiday trips. The growth in the international market will be driven through establishment of a bidding fund to a tune of 90 million over the medium-term period, strengthening our marketing and conversion mechanisms in traditional markets, expanding to new markets which include Asia, Iran, Middle East, the African continent and its diaspora. 110 million has also been allocated for attracting more businesses and delegates to South Africa. And another 224 million is for infrastructure investment. Chairperson, the SAT board has also decided on the Inkosi Albert Luthuli International Convention Center in Durban, KwaZulu-Natal, as the home for Africa's Travel Indaba for the next 5 years. It is our approach moving forward that all our strategic events should find their respective homes, which would allow the host city, the provincial and the industry partners to plan their investments with greater levels of certainty. This year's Indaba, rebranded Africa's Travel Indaba, was attended by exhibitors from 20 African countries. We also hosted the Indaba ministerial session that endorsed the rebranded Indaba and further called for strengthening interaction platforms for engagements on emerging trends in tourism, challenges and unity of the continent. And other issues that were discussed in this session include legislative imperatives, strengthening of country-to-country relations, connectivity, air access, visa, stroke immigration issues, and emerging technology innovations. This is in line with our pursuit of the implementation of Agenda 2063. It is within the same spirit that we will also be signing bilateral cooperation agreements in the field of tourism with Zambia, Botswana, Malawi, Senegal, Namibia during this financial year. South Africa will also take over the chair of the South African Development Community from Swaziland until August 2018. And during this period, we will host a SADC tourism ministers meeting. And one of the main tasks of this tourism sector in SADC will be the establishment of a tourism policy unit within the SADC Secretariat, which will serve as a think tank for policy development and analysis in the region. Once we have registered phenomenal growth, I wish to remind all of us that tourism is a vulnerable sector, as we witnessed in the decline of minus 3.5% for the month of February 2017 compared to February 2016, which was specifically from the SADC region, China and India. This was clear that tourism responds to the external shocks and a lot faster than other sectors. And in particular, concerns about personal safety and violent crimes are at the top of the mind when all of us make travel decisions. And this is no different when it comes to international tourists. We need to work together as South Africans to build the confidence of tourists in our destination. Marketing alone is not enough. Our own actions as South Africans will determine how our message is received by our targeted markets. The recent Ebola incident reported from the DRC requires our urgent collective attention, as what happens in one part of the continent will always be perceived as occurring across the continent. We will work with all strategic partners to give confidence to the tourism markets that we are a must-visit destination. To this end, the President launched our new code, We Do Tourism campaign at the Africa Travel Indaba last week. The President was so emphatic that, I quote again, tourism is everybody's business, and that growing the industry is everybody's business, unquote. Following the establishment of the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Immigration Regulation, which was tasked with finding a balance between ease of travel, facilitation for tourists, and security needs, I am pleased to report that significant progress was made in implementing the cabinet decision. Thank you to the leadership of the Department of Tourism, and already we have had a formal session with the Minister of the Department of Home Affairs on the matter, and we can include into the report that as of today, we are confident that even the last outstanding matter would soon be completed, and it is only through continuous strategic and constructive dialogue between the public and private sectors that we will be able to achieve meaningful results. In the end, South Africa must remain the winner. In terms of our research, policy and regulations, during the last financial year, we developed regulations to guide the lodgement of complaints through the Tourism Complaints Officer. During the current financial year, we will embark on the development of amendments to the Act, with the view to create an enabling environment for inclusive growth. We'll also work with industry stakeholders and other partner departments in determining the proper policy framework to take into account the impact of the sharing economy and the disruptive technologies in the industry. Chairperson, inclusive growth of the sector requires clear insights and relevant statistical information, and in this regard, we'll strengthen our capacity for insights and analytics for both marketing and development of the sector. We'll also work with local government across the country to appoint, train, and place youth that will serve as data collectors about tourism products, attractions, and services within the various localities. This will enhance the National Tourism Information Management System and improve our decision-making capacity. More direction towards enhancing tourism is our approach in the implementation of the marine and coastal tourism, which seeks to promote the integration of associated industries such as agriculture, fisheries, arts and culture, environmental management, small harbor development, cruise terminal development. We are also taking a nodal approach in all identified projects to tackle the entire value chain and product development, and the Deputy Minister will speak to the intervention. The plan will also seek to integrate coastal developments with existing inland experiences with a view to maximize participation opportunities. This plan, which has been developed with other relevant stakeholders, will soon be tabled before the Cabinet for approval and implementation. It will form a greater part of our destination development efforts. South Africa plays also a strategic role as one of 7 founding members of the Indian Ocean Rim Association, IORA, and this opens opportunities beyond our South African coast and therefore extend opportunities to the 1/3 of the world's coastline. Our transformation agenda is at the core of what we want to do, and as part of the guidance from the Tourism Broad-Based Black Economic Empowerment Charter Council, we plan to put together a framework for maximizing empowerment of Black people through concessions in state-owned entities, partnerships to bring in existing Black operators to serve as management companies for state-owned facilities, partnership with industry to scale up enterprise and supplier development, effective use of state procurement levers in partnership with National Treasury to empower Black suppliers of tourism products and services, strengthening market access for Black-owned enterprises in terms of government-driven marketing initiatives, enhance mechanisms for access to funding for new initiatives and expansion projects. Our ultimate goal is to participate in the Black Industrialist Program. And to this end, I would like to thank the chairperson of the council, Dr. Vuyo Mahlati, and members of the council for their sterling work. And we are looking at having an indaba towards the end of the year to really take forward the stakeholders to implement. Another exciting moment is the empowerment of women, which is central to our agenda. We will continue with our Women in Tourism program. Women in tourism are mobilized behind representation, recognition, reward, and respect. The launch at the Tourism Indaba 2017 lifts one of those aspects, which is representation, and targets that targets 30% in the next 5 years as part of the scorecard on ownership, board participation, and executive management by our women, and an advisory body will continuously advise us on proper interventions that will take us forward, and we'll use our incentive program to also intervene. Chairperson, access to funding for small businesses is often an issue, and then we are working with the National Treasury, and we have entered into a partnership with the National Empowerment Fund to establish a transformation fund. A combination of a grant funding and debt financing will be used to drive sector transformation and unlock capital investment in tourism. The fund is currently capitalized to an amount of 120 million, with the aim of building it to about 360 million in the medium term. Every rand from the department is matched by 2 rand from the National Empowerment Fund, and the fund includes NEF equity, debt, and NDT grant funding, and will cap it at 5 million. It will be accessible in the second quarter of 2017 financial year. The Deputy Minister will elaborate on our approach in terms of enterprise development. We will host a national conference on transformation, as I indicated earlier. In terms of destination development, we are developing a framework for precinct development with emphasis on township, rural tourism, and our initial efforts will be focused on Vilakazi Street in Soweto with a view to replicate and adapt the model in other viable townships across the country. And the combination of Vilakazi Streets and residents' entrepreneurship spirit and the uniqueness of this very special place, once a home to 2 Nobel Peace Laureates and one of the kind of in the world, has created a vibrant and globally sought-after tourism attraction. This amplifies the need for a targeted approach to precinct development.
Honorable Minister, your time is now expired. Unless you wish to use some of your time that's at the end now, and we will reduce it accordingly.
I will use just 2 minutes of my time to indicate that we also have the program that used to be called the Expanded Public Works Program, which is now working for tourism. Through the implementation of this program, we wish to create 3,347 full-time equivalent jobs, both infrastructure and skills development programs. And based on our experiences, we've put in place systems and capacity for effective implementation and future commercial sustainability of our product-based expanded public works program projects. We have also adopted a zero tolerance stance on poor performance by contractors, with consequences where there is indication of poor management in such areas. We will also pursue partnerships with other government institutions to scale up the intake in terms of our skills development program. Our CAT SITA, represented by the COO here, and the Department of Labor are partnering with us to increase these numbers. Towards the end of the quarter will indicate additional numbers in terms of the skills development. And our Blue Flag ambassadors here are here as a showcase that we are moving in that program as part of a new area of skills development. I'll stop there, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next speaker is the Honorable Ngobo.
Sihlalo wendlu bongqongqoshe ababhekene nomnyango we-tourism, ungqongqoshe uThoko Xhasa nongqongqoshe uElizabeth Tabete, malibongwe. Amalungu ahloniphekile ala, abavakashi bethu namalungu ahloniphekileyo abezomnyango wokuvakasha nabo bonke abasemakhaya sanibonani. From the outset, we would like to say the African National Congress supports this budget vote 33. Chairperson, after having had meetings with the National Department of Tourism and South African Tourism to present their strategic plans as well as their APPs, today we are debating this vote. We congratulate both the department and the entity for getting a clean audit and for being awarded by the Auditor General the best performing department in accounting, and further getting the Batu Pili Award and the best DG. The economy has been ANC has been having the economy at its apex all the way, and in order to have inclusive economy, tourism has also been made a priority because it survives and it maintains the economy even when the major departments are shaking. The restructuring of the Department of Tourism and also the reorganization of programs of the South African tourism is going to go a long way because the programs are being better and properly structured. Vote 33 has been appropriated 2.140 billion. 53% of that has been has been appropriated or transferred to the South African tourism. The department remained with 47%, which is for employee compensation and for goods and services. Given the funding needs to fulfill the tourism mandate clearly articulated in the program structure is 2.1 billion to the vote is inadequate for the vote that this department must perform. The committee continues to monitor the value for money and whether the entity is delivering the required services on the budget that has been appropriated to it. But the department has informed the committee that it is now insourcing quite a number of programs to avoid delays which have been troubling and been a problem to this department. South African tourism has not done so well with the international arrivals in as much as that it has come with the initiative of 5 in 5 years. So 5 million international tourists will be attained in 5 years, and 5 in 5. So for each year, we expect to get more tourists. The department should improve, actually, oversight over the South African tourism because it's getting quite a lot of budget. So we expect it to do more. As the minister had said that this year is the year of the improving tourism development according to the World Nations World Tourism Council. The minister must also ensure that the funding that is given to the department also attracts international tourists. And we hope that that will happen with the minister full of energy. We've been having a problem with the South African tourism when it came to the quarterly reporting, because they were reporting more on the World WTO numbers than on the PFMA numbers. But they've promised that by 2018, 2019, they'll be doing both, but actually complying with the PFMA. We are looking forward to that happening. The tourism fund that the minister has been talking about and has been reporting to this meeting today, we hope it will improve the situation of the SMMEs, because the development fund institutions have got criteria that are not helpful to these people. So the funding that will be available will assist all the people that are in SMMEs and need funding, and to grow the economy of this country. To achieve inclusive growth, we call on destination management companies and big tour operators to include tourism services in the tourism SMMEs in their itineraries in order that they also get equitable business and they grow. The role of the TPECSA is crucial in achieving that responsible tourism. We applaud that opportunities to develop women entrepreneurs is being pursued by the department, and I'm sure this will take women a long way. And also youth skills must be made a priority as well, so that we do not have youth that is laying around when tourism can do that. For South African tourism, the Grading Council has got quite a lot of work to do, because as we go to the provinces on our oversight, grading seems to be the major problem. So it is important that grading tourism improves and universal access becomes a reality for all South Africans that would like to be involved and engage in tourism. The committee is awaiting the tourism bill that should be coming to Parliament by the end of the fourth quarter of 17-18 or the first quarter of 18-19. We are looking forward to that one. The committee has asked SAT to come up with an econometric study, which they already have done, and we hope by that econometric study, the committee will be able to make recommendations, informed recommendations for the BRRR. South Africa is a very long destination, and it is important that the destination be made very, very user-friendly for the international tourists in particular, and for domestic tourism, by making it possible to have an airlift strategy, and there will be a need for an intergovernmental relations with the department that is responsible for transport. And also, it is important that the cost of travel be made more accessible so as to encourage domestic tourism, but this will be done by reducing airport taxes. And eventually, we hope as a committee, the domestic travel as well as international travel will improve. For instance, people coming from Gambia to South Africa, they've got to travel via Senegal, via France, and then South Africa. We also need to look at the open skies policy, though countries are very, very conservative about opening their skies. We congratulate both the department and the entity for their I Do Tourism initiative that they've come up with from Tourism Indaba. And we would really like National Treasury to also let us know the impact of the carbon tax to travel, particularly for those people who are from very long distances. We would really very appreciate if Treasury could actually tell us what the impact to travel will be. We further support budget vote 33 as ANC. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is the Honourable Kromboek.
Tourism offers us many windows into the state of our nation. We can measure our success as a desirable destination by comparing our international arrivals year to year and against our long-haul competitors. Our domestic tourism figures provide us with a finger on the pulse of our internal economic heartbeat. So how are we doing? Last year in this debate, the Minister was honest enough to tell us that international arrivals to our shores had fallen by 6.8% in 2015. Even if only 1 in every 16 tourists creates one job, that was still around 41,000 jobs we shed due to this decline. Minister Gigaba's visa regulations have exacted a heavy toll paid for by the most vulnerable South Africans. There was much fanfare over the so-called dramatic recovery of overseas visitors in 2016, a spinning exercise to make Imran Tahir proud. But that recovery was driven from a visa disaster-induced low base, and the true picture of what has happened to our inbound tourism market only emerges when you compare our compound average growth rate of 2014 to 2016 to the rest of the world. And the true picture is this. Between 2014 and 2016, our growth rate in international arrivals was just 2.6% a year, compared to the global average of 3.9%, a full one-third less. The fact is, we are not keeping pace with world tourism growth. Close examination of our international arrivals reveals interesting insights. Amongst the biggest increases in the number of inbound tourists in 2016 were the United States of America and China, at 9% and 19% respectively. The USA has made a strong recovery from the financial crisis a decade ago, and is still one of the freest nations on earth. While China's political repression is admired only by postmodern political dinosaurs, nascent economic freedom has led to spectacular economic growth, enabling both countries' citizens to travel more. And so while it is true that tourism is an engine of growth, it is equally true that growth in turn is a locomotive force of both domestic and outbound tourism. Freedom and free markets fuel opportunity and spark economic transformation. Now there's a radical idea. The experience of the USA and China also help explain our domestic tourism decline. Domestic trips declined by nearly 1% last year, driven largely by a decrease in trips taken to visit friends and relatives and for holidays. On the other hand, business trips grew by 22%, and domestic bed nights grew to an average of 4.3 nights. So while fewer people caught in a low-growth trap can afford to travel, some people travel for longer while inequality grows. House Chairperson, the DA welcomes the econometric study that has been commissioned with Oxford to determine our optimum tourism advertising spend, something we have argued for on the Portfolio Committee for 5 years. The last time such a benchmarking study was done was in 2010, and historically our overall budget for tourism has been lower than our long-haul competitors. We have always maintained that we should increase the budget if the additional funding is matched by extra tax and VAT receipts flowing into the fiscus, which of course will also generate jobs. We look forward to interrogating the report when it is tabled before the committee. Minister, last year I took members on a journey of hope and despair, a story of very low-paid but dedicated tourism heroes and heroines promoting our country's unparalleled attractions, only to be smothered by a suffocating bureaucracy. I related no less than 4 government organizations and committees, all going nowhere slowly in erecting an N3 brown sign advertising the 58 million rand Nelson Mandela capture site. A 6th year has passed. What has happened? Here is the first sign. And here is the second sign. Here's the second sign. Sadly, Minister, the second row sign is merely a Photoshop. It does not exist. Boshop Country Club is a tribute to its founder's entrepreneurial flair, and its residents contribute valuable and appreciated rates to the municipality. But if we can put up a sign...
Honourable member, the whip in front and the member next to it, please don't do that. Okay, I allow the honourable member to do it because he was using it in his speech. But let's not do that.
Okay,
continue, honourable member.
Off my time while you check.
No, you can continue.
All right. Let me proceed from where I start. Okay. But if we can put up a sign directing tourists to an exclusive golf course just a few kilometers from where the greatest man who ever walked our land was captured, surely his contribution to our country deserves a sign of its own. Just imagine the enrichment of our shared cultural experiences, the fostering of reconciliation, and the job opportunities created if we erect a road sign directing just some of the 4 million tourists who pass by on the N3 every year to the Heritage Mandela Capture Site and Museum. After turning down the sign, which you just saw, SANRAL have today indicated a willingness to assist, for which I thank them. You can help, Minister. Just do it.
Thank you, honourable member. The next speaker is the Honourable Khawula.
The Department of Tourism's strategic objective is to promote economic growth, equitable and sustainable tourism sector in order to enhance economic development in this country. Accordingly, tourism contributes 3% of our gross domestic product. This contribution is relatively low compared to the potential that tourism as a sector in South Africa has. South African tourism is pregnant with huge opportunities, but due to leadership deficit, tourism opportunities are prematurely aborted. The South African tourism is still following the colonial apartheid pattern of development, where majority of black people and African in particular remains in the margin of the economy. The budget vote on tourism, in order to pass the test of time, it must give expression and content to the call for radical economic transformation. And accordingly, it must address the following apartheid bottlenecks against black people. The Tourism Grading Council of South Africa is the only government-mandated industry-supported quality assurance authority in South Africa. It cannot be that huge industry like tourism will only have one quality assurance agency that is recognized by the government. This allows white monopoly capital to manipulate the process and use a criteria that makes it impossible for black potential role players in the township and rural areas to participate and benefit from the tourism industry. The grading criteria has become exorbitantly costly in terms of the required infrastructure, leaving many township and rural establishments ungraded and therefore unmarketable. The budget vote is silent on how to address this apartheid inherited deficit. The budget vote is silent on the degree of exploitation of workers in the mainstream tourism industries. The majority of workers in the tourism industry are historically disadvantaged individuals, working as waiters, kitchen staff, drivers, chefs, and cleaners. These workers often work long hours without getting overtime and below minimum wage. Some are not unionized, therefore falling victim to unscrupulous, often racist employers. The budget vote must address the property ownership patterns, because currently people that own land is the white monopoly capital. The state must give black people land in the form of cooperatives and subsidize them into building proper and adequate establishment that could be competent lodges, B&B and hotels, facilitating the participation of black people in tourism and equally transforming the sector. The budget vote must address the role of the Department of Tourism in facilitating the participation of black people in the ocean economy, in particular the marine tourism. Currently, the ocean economy benefits the white monopoly capital and those who reside in coastal towns. The majority of our people lives in rural areas. The budget vote is silent on the strategy that the department plans to employ on how they plan to optimally utilize inland waterways that are mainly situated in rural areas for tourism development. The budget must demonstrate a political will for our people to be part of the marine tourism in the ocean economy. The budget vote must facilitate the realignment of the national, provincial, and municipal tourism strategy, in particular in the metro municipalities. The lack of synergy leads to duplication of tourism and results to wasteful expenditure. There is a demonstration of lack of foresight and leadership. Majority of tourism agents across spheres of government are operating in silos, collapsing the huge potential of tourism in the industry. The budget must provide domestic traveling incentive strategy for the local people to encourage domestic tourism. Whilst we appreciate the short-lived tourism campaign, it does not address the low-income earners' interest to travel in South Africa. The incentive must be in the form of subsidy for leisure and entertainment traveling. The SMME development must be a deliberate intervention where state protect and procure some tourism business activities, specifically for small and medium business. The current tourism incentive program addresses soft issues such as access to markets. This program must be redesigned to address the serious issues that face majority of our people, such as infrastructure development and land occupation. As part of the SMME and township economic development, the taxi industry is strategically placed to provide the tour guide services. The budget overlooks the important industry, which could add value to the transformation agenda of government, whilst boosting the township and rural economy at the same time. Instead of centralizing and monopolizing the tour guide service to old white males, the industry requires adequate regulation for tourism purposes to ensure safety and professionalism to handle tourism activities. Asiyekeni ukukhumsha xa sithetha ngezotyelelo. Abantu bakuthi bafuna inkxaso karhulumente onenkathalo onesazela imvelaphi yabo ukuze bakwazi ukukhongozela iitiki zabatyelelayo. Bafuna umhlaba nemali yokuba bakhe indawo zokulalisa abantu. Until that budget address those fundamental issues, the EFF will never accept and therefore reject the budget vote. Thank you.
Order. Thank you, Honourable Member. Order. The next speaker is the Honourable Deputy Minister of Tourism. Order, Honourable Members.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Allow me to acknowledge Minister of Tourism, Togo Klasa, the first woman, I think, African minister to have been appointed to this position, as well as other ministers present, deputy ministers, members of parliament, as well as members in the gallery and our visitors, both minister and myself. We welcome you to this house. The success of tourism in our country is based on the warmth of our people, the attractiveness of our unique attractions, our infrastructure, our iconic cultural and heritage sites, and the abundance of our natural assets. Of all these, our most important asset is our people. And the skills, knowledge, and quality of service provided by our people are central to our efforts to enhance our attractiveness in an increasingly competitive global market. Minister Klasa has described how we are developing and marketing our destination and our attractions and putting tourism on path of inclusive, transformative growth. I think other honorable members maybe put cotton wools in their ears. I'm sure they'll be able to take that and be able to follow as to whatever we are trying to do as the department and the industry, as well as making sure that we can be able to focus on these challenging issues. Now, the issue of training and enterprise development and the work we are doing with universities to support future tourism development. In terms of what we want to do, we are saying that economic transformation is the key to a better quality of life and to the well-being of our people. Our efforts of deepening human capital development in the sector aimed at rapidly bringing more rural people, township, peri-urban, women, youth, and people with disabilities into the value chain with a wider geographic impact. We want to link tourism products and services that offer experiences for tourists to the supply of goods and products from local communities. This will cement the relationship between tourism and community development when tourism is seen to benefit communities in visible and tangible ways, like a signed long-term contract to supply a local lodge with fresh vegetables. It takes on a new value and meaning for that community. They begin to own tourism and they're also part of. Chairperson, our challenge for the immediate period ahead is to transform the tourism sector with energy and space and to achieve magnitude and impact in our efforts towards inclusivity and transformation. Our aspiration for tourism is built into our policy, and it is clearly expressed in the revised National Tourism Sector Strategy. Enterprise development is central to our quest for accelerated economic transformation. The Department of Tourism established 2 small and medium enterprises incubators in key tourism nodes at Planisburg in Northwest and Manyeledi in Mpumalanga last year, October and March this year. And we are working with 100 tourism enterprises and industry stakeholders to promote inclusive economic participation in these areas, which are adjacent to the busy tourism attractions, an additional incubator, and 5 additional rural community participation projects will be rolled out in this financial year, talking exactly to the issues of making sure that our people can be part of this value chain. About 400 enterprises across all our provinces are now benefiting from support in the form of mentorship, coaching, market access, training, and technical assistance. To support these enterprises further, a portal has been developed to link suppliers of services and products to buyers in the sector to create business relationships between smaller enterprises and large tourism operators and to create room for new entrants. His Excellency the President stated during opening of Africa's Travel in Durban this year that we are starting a journey towards building more sustainable and profitable businesses and opportunities, and of expanding the new entrants into medium and large-size enterprises. This sums up our approach to radical economic transformation through enterprise development. As a start, we've implemented, amongst other, international market access program for SMMEs and also supported 90 SMMEs to participate in the 2017 Tourism in Durban as part of the Hidden Gems program. Some of them, the first time they are in Durban, the first time to interact with so many people, and they were able also to clinch good deals that will be able to contribute into our national development and create the 11 million jobs, as well as 90% of that coming from the same Hidden Gems program. The department hosts the National Tourism Careers Expo every year to introduce young learners and high school tourism graduates to careers in tourism. Over 6,000 learners, 459 educators, and 50 exhibitors took part in last year's expo in Bloemfontein. About 120 young volunteers were mobilized for a 3-day event and paid a daily stipend. The next NTC will take place during 28 to 30 September in Bloemfontein. I'm sure members of parliament can be able to come and be able to see in practice that we're already doing what they're suggesting, some of them, especially our colleague from the EFF. The Department National Youth Chefs Training Program produces chefs who are able to compete globally. Last year, 470 learners graduated with a diploma and advanced diploma. 400 of these learners were women. This financial year, 577 learners will be enrolled in the National Youth Chefs Training Program. In the Sommelier program, youth are trained in South African and international wines, wine service and winemaking. You know that we produce very good wine worldwide. So we hope this is going to enhance that so that we can be able to take our wines everywhere in the world. Last year, 243 young learners graduated and 187 were women. This year, 300 additional youth are enrolled in this program, which gives hospitality skills and job opportunities. In the last financial year, 2,654 youth graduated with the national certificates in food and beverage at NQ4 level 4 and others in the national certificate accommodation services in NQF, National Qualifications Framework level 2. Of these, 1,837 were women. 20 of the top achievers in the food and beverage program are currently placed in Seychelles for further specialization, including French cuisine. For sure, we are trying as this government to make sure that we can be able to train them, expose them, so that they come back being the best chefs. Last year, the department enrolled 500 learners in the food safety program, and a further 500 will be enrolled this year. The focus will also be on strengthening their ability to engage in entrepreneurial activities. The first group of women who enrolled for the Executive Women's Program are due to complete their training in June this year. The program is a partnership between the department and the UNISA School of Business with the support of industry. The program exposes them to the actual business of tourism beyond just the operations which they are already familiar with, improving their prospects for growth to senior and executive management. Indeed, we are trying our level best to implement what the NDP is aspiring to achieve. The Department of Tourism provided a series of capacity building opportunities to ensure growth and development of the tourist guiding sector in the past year. These range from upskilling programs for existing tourist guides for training new entrants. Our 8 World Heritage Sites are amongst South Africa's biggest tourism drawcards. We must ensure that the knowledge and skills of tourist guides operating at these sites are of a high standard. Over 60 guides have benefited from training with the department provided at Isimangaliso Wetland Park and the Cradle of Humankind. We also provided training opportunities for tourist guides to be skilled in Russian and Mandarin languages. The training culminated in the guides being taken abroad to gain further exposure to the cultural practices and the way of life of people from these countries. These opportunities are changing lives of ordinary South Africans. Ms. Nosipu Mbele from Umlazi Township, I'm sure is in the gallery today, is with us here, is one of the beneficiaries. We don't just, talk about, we implement as this department. And this is a typical good example. It's from Umlazi Township and is one of the beneficiaries of the chef training program, a qualified professional pastry chef. She has made a great success of a career, which includes global exposure, and has built her mother a house. We are not fabricating stories. This is a true story. And then, good luck. And then Ms. Teddy Tokwe is the CEO of the Lilizela Award-winning Ashwood Guest House, a hidden gem, one of the SMMEs that I was talking about earlier, in the Bloemfontein Free State. She's an example of the impact of the Hidden Gems program. As I said, Chairperson, the new domestic tourism strategy has directed us to put equal emphasis on products as in marketing. We will be supporting strategic product development and enhancement with the aim of broadening the product base to accommodate the needs of a diverse domestic tourism market. This will also broaden our product offering for the international market. The initiative includes some of the over 700 state-owned products, such as provincial and municipality resorts, some of which already attract international visitors but require refurbishment. Part of our strategy is facilitate sector transformation through creating partnerships for black management capacity of these facilities. We'll start with the Midmar Dam Resort in Pietermaritzburg. Through our 5-in-5 marketing strategy, we will add 1 million additional domestic holiday trips, thereby stimulating a market for these products. Our enterprise development program will also facilitate the development of a new breed of our operators for the domestic tourism market, which will work with SMMEs, tourism product owners, and services providers to take advantage of the growing diverse market needs. We'll also be creating travel schemes for social clubs and strengthening the role of events in growing domestic tourism. Some of these people were never, had any opportunity to travel from one province to the other. But with this, we are trying to make sure that it can be possible that as well, they can be able to know their country better, be ambassadors of our tourism routes. And we'll work with the national and provincial attractions such as parks, cultural and heritage sites to expose underprivileged South Africans the country's tourism offering. Through South African tourism, will also, the CEO is here, is listening very well. We'll also form strategic partners to enhance conversion based on our domestic tourism market.
Honorable Deputy Minister, your time is now expired.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. The next speaker is the Honorable Kebekulu.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Tourism is one of the key economic drivers in South Africa and plays a major role in job creation. Of this, there can be no dispute. Why is it then that the department has an annual performance plan with unclear objectives and targets that are structured in such a way that they will be near impossible nor attain in the coming budget period? The tourism industry's benefit and impact to social economic upliftment cannot be overestimated, and therefore the promotion of domestic and international tourism in all our provinces is of the utmost importance to our economic growth and development, and requires all the support that it can be given by the state. South African tourism has success stories, and it must ensure that these are continued and also emulated in other areas where it falls short. Through a lack of funds and the political will, many results, especially in our smaller towns, have become dysfunctional. Most of these results are built with taxpayers' money, and our municipalities are just not maintaining them. Department project spending in general has not seen much improvement on the lives of its intended beneficiaries. Constant monitoring, reports, and oversight are necessary. Projects such as Mangwazi Lodge, Huntington Village, and Zitabisen are an example of such failed projects. With support from the Industrial Development Corporation as a partner in the upkeep and development of smaller resorts, this lackluster approach can only be blamed on the Department of Tourism's mismanagement or apathy. Honorable Chairperson, in 2017, South African tourism will compete with 194 other countries on the world of a share of the tourism pie, and this department must be fully committed in assisting the industry rather than implementing unnecessary policies and regulations that hurt and hinder more than they assist tourism. Cruise ships offer South African ports and foreign tourists many exciting destinations within our country, and in the process, significant amounts of foreign revenue and employment potential. In this respect, the Department of Tourism must ensure that cruise ship operators are more involved in tourism endeavors and launches. It is with great regret that we still find mismanagement and corruption within this department and its entities. To fight this cancer of maladministration and mismanagement of finances, government and this department must strengthen and review existing internal control systems in order to detect deficiency and root out corruption at its point of genesis. This being said, the IFP support this budget vote debate as we support the further development of promotion of tourism for benefit of the people of South Africa. I thank you.
Sibonge kumhlonishwa inkosi uCebekhulu. Ngibiza umhlonishwa uBekwa.
Thank you, House Chair. Honorable Minister, Mama Uthokozile Xhasa. Honorable Deputy Minister, Mama Elizabeth. Honorable Chairperson of the Committee, Mama Wetu Beatrice Nobo. Honorable members and our guests in the gallery. The ANC 53rd National Conference reaffirmed the Freedom Charter's vision, which calls on the people of South Africa to share in South Africa's wealth. The conference further noted that through economic transformation, we intend to build an equitable society in which there is a decent work for all. The ANC in 2015, the Lekgotla further highlighted the potential for the tourism to significantly transform the industry through job creation, particularly in rural areas. But realizing the potential requires investment in domestic tourism and tourism marketing. The National Development Plan, a Vision 2030, prioritizing the integration and inclusive of rural communities, and note that South Africa's rural communities should have greater opportunity to participate fully in the economy, social and political life of the country. It can be noted that tourism still remains an integral sector which is potential of meaningfully transforming the structure of South African economy through inclusive participation of numerous stakeholders. Chairperson, the ANC government is committed to implement the goals set up in the NDP. These commitments can be found in the medium-term strategic framework, which is government strategy plan for the 2014-2019 electoral term. The objectives of tourism are interlinked and thus speak to a number of card-crossing outcomes in the NTMSF. Some of these include, but are not limited, decent employment through an inclusive economy. This is further supported by the tourism, a position as one of the 6 core pillars of growth and economy. New growth path framework, equally so that the industrial policy action plan had identified the sector as one of the areas expected to contribute the development of rural areas and the communities. The realization of an exclusive economy sector is possible once equitable economic development, particularly in rural areas, take place. In various areas, concern has been raised over the inclusive and the training program being delivered by the department. Training and capacity building programs were previously dispersed all over 4 programs without a coherent strategy. The 2017-2018 APP have responded to these concerns and clustered all training programs under one program. This signals good intentions toward delivery of effective and efficient capacity building programs. Chairperson, allow me to just highlight the few of the challenges that are facing domestic tourism in our country. Eyokuqala, Chairperson, budget. Ngifisa i-department incedise kakhulu ekubukeni i-budget enikezwe i-domestic tourism. Engicabanga ukuthi sisonke siyazi ukuthi lapha emakhaya abantu bethu kuze bakwazi ukuba ingxenye ye-domestic tourism kufuze ukuthi imali i-budget yabo yenyuke kuze labo bakwazi ukuthi bancediseke. Ngaphandle kwayo leya budget i-department eyifake kuyona angicabanga ukuthi kuyobasiza labo bantu abaningi abadla imbuwa ngothi. Kwayona-ke ukutransforma i-tourism, abantu bakithi abamnyama bayingxenye enkulu. Abanawo angisho ubunikazi bamahhotela, babona ubunikazi bamahhotela. Okwesibili abanawo ngisho nama-B&Bs. So njengoba ke sinale policy ethi sifuna umnotho ukuthi siubuyisele kubantu bakithi. Ngicabanga ukuthi mangabe lemkhakha esengiyibalile ngenhla, even ama tour operators abantu bethu abaqeqeshekile kuwona. Singakwazi kanjani ukuba sibe ingxenye yokuthi sikhulise umnotho if usesimele sinjalo? Ngicabanga ukuthi department nako lokho izokuqaphela. Okwesibili, lapha komasipala mawuya khona sikhuluma ngama officials okuthiwa a dedicated emsebenzini, but mawufika uthola ukuthi bancane kakhulu ukuthi bangancedisa abantu bethu. Ebese kufisa kakhulu kwenzeka ukuthi mabatrainwe banikezwe ama skills abantu bethu kwenzela ukuthi omasipala bangabi ingxenye ukuthi basebenze into ze domestic tourism, ngoba phela omasipala bona siyazi ukuthi abakwenza basayi service delivery kubantu. Nakhona siyanxusa department ukuthi ilandise ulwazi khona abantu bethu bezayithola le bizwa ngesilungu ukuthi capacity building. Siphinde futhi kube nomkhakha la sithi khona tourism feeding services. Nawo lo mkhakha ngifisa ukuthi department ubuke kahle ngoba laba basuke besivakashele sithi ama tourists mabefika endaweni zasemakhaya noma singakathuthukisi kahle, kodwa if abantu bethu bebafica bekwazi ukuba nendawo la bezoba masaja khona mase bebuya ukuvakashini, baphinde futhi babancedise kakhulu ekubenzeni nama salons, sivula ama hair salon. Ngicabanga ukuthi konke lokho if kungaba i-department ingakubeka phambili kungasincedisa kakhulu. Bese kuthi ama tourists mangabe buye entabeni kunalezi imoto abayigibela kuthiwa ama mountain bikes, nawo mangenzeka i-department ibe nabantu bethu ezobatrainer so that mangabe sefile lama mountain bike bakwazi abantu bakithi ukuthi bakhande khona bezokwazi ukuzicoshela imali kubavakashi. Bese siya kulo mkhakha okuthiwa i-procurement. Chairperson, lapha ke sinenkinga enkulu. Abantu bakithi la abakwazi ngisho ukungena kwi-database, ikuvimbe bona ke ondlebe kazikhanya ilanga. Abakwazi ukungena. So kunzima kakhulu ke makunale red tape ngoba abantu bakithi bazowenza kanjalo ukuthi babe ingxenye bengaveli na kwi-database. Bese kuba nolo mkhakha esikhuluma ngawo Chairperson othi lack of mentorship. Nakhona siyafisa phela abantu bakithi si transfer iskill kubona ukuze bezokwazi ukuthi mangabe sesitransfer iskill kubona baphinde phela nabo bakwazi ukuthi bakhiphe a higher standard and quality mase kuqhathanisela lapha kunemqhudelwano yokuthi kudilwa nama tourists. Bese siphinde sidila Chairperson ne tourism awareness. Ngicabanga ukuthi kumsebenzi we department ukuthi ikakhulukazi kwi domestic tourism ukuthi i-tourism awareness kuyofanele yenziwe ezindaweni zasemakhaya kakhulukazi kusetshenziswa ama programs ikakhulukazi njengo short left nje. Ngicabanga ukuthi basingaba promoter kakhulu kwi domestic tourism kuyobasiza abantu bakithi. So nembuthwano nayo ama events
kungasiza. Ngihlonishwa isikhathi sakho sesiphelile.
Sengibonga Chairperson, i-ANC support the budget vote of Department of Tourism. Thank you.
Sibonge kakhulu kumhlonishwa ubekwa. Manje sizobiza umhlonishwa ukhubisa.
Chairperson, thank you very much. Honorable Minister, Ministers, Deputy Minister, Present, Honorable Members. The National Freedom Party notes and welcomes the report of Budget Vote 33, and we accept it, and we understand that this sector forms 9% and contributes 9% to the GDP. Chairperson, tourism in South Africa is a strategic economic sector with the potential for creating labor-intensive, sustainable, and decent jobs, and contributing significantly to the gross domestic product. Furthermore, we can consider tourism as an inclusive economic sector that has immense potential to give effect to our dreams of equitable economic development, particularly in rural areas. It is within this context, Chairperson, of the importance of tourism that we welcome and support the budget. Having said that, Chairperson, the United World Tourism has declared the year 2017 as the International Year of Sustainable Tourism Development. The year 2017 is therefore dedicated to promoting tourism role in 5 key areas, including inclusive and sustainable economic growth, social inclusiveness, employment and poverty reduction, resource efficiency, environmental protection, and climate change, cultural values, diversity and heritage, mutual understanding, peace and security. Our republic and the department in particular has adopted an economic and inclusive approach that considers tourism as a strategic economic sector, and that I've alluded to, with a potential of creating labor-intensive jobs. Now, having said that, Chairperson, it goes without saying that all areas and all kinds of tourism are important. International tourism is important, domestic tourism is important. Especially in rural areas, Chairperson, ecotourism is of vital importance. Cultural tourism, heritage, traditional tourism are all important. Ngikuthatha nje Chairperson ngithi uma ubuka itourism asikwazi ukuyihlukanisa nomlando. Ake ngithi nje uma ubuka wehla eKing Shaka mhlawumbe uya eNorth noma uya eSouth. Indawo eziningi indawo zomlando. Abantu bakithi ke ngqongqoshe bafuna ukubenefita kulezi zinto ngoba bayakwazi ukubona Deputy Minister as well. Babona fika ama tourists, fika amabhasi amakhulu kuthiwa yi-tourism kodwa bengaboni bonke bagainana. Ngikuthathe ngihambe nawe ngisuke nawe eKing Shaka uThongathi ngishone nawe endonda kusuka kuNezimpi Ginyindlovu all ngishone eShowe indawo yomlando ushone eMthonjaneni ushone eNkandla uze ushone Olundi kukhona indawo yasemakhosini nezinye indawo bathi abantu bakithi especially endaweni zamakhosi sitholane ngoba kufanele sigaine mabebona amabhasi amaningi ushone nje koShaka kukhona indawo yeQueenland and all that. Our people want to gain on the ground with regard to tourism. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Ngibiza umama umhlonishwa uXhego.
Mhlali ngaphambili umphathiswa wezokhenketho mama Thokozile Xhasa nabaphathiswa abakhoyo sekela mphathiswa mama Elizabeth Tabete sihlalo wekomiti mama Beatrice Ngcobo siyakwazi namhlanje ukuthi phambili ngomama phambili uba sijonganga lento iyangqina ukuthi into yethu lebo mama malungu ekomiti namalungu endlu yowisomthetho baphathi besebe lezokhenketho nabasebenzi malungu ebhodi nosomashishini zindwendwe ezihloniphekileyo bantu boMzantsi Afrika ndiyanibulisa ngalemva kwemini mhlali ngaphambili mandithathe elithuba ndizibandakanye nogxa bam ndikhalimele ukuhlukunyezwa nokubulawa komama amantombazana nabantwana umbutho we-African National Congress ulilisana nalo makhaya sigqibe sithi kwanele enough is enough sithi kwanele ngakumbi xa kusekho umntana oyintombazana wapha eGcuwa kumasipala waseMnquma uNandipha Mthuzula owalahleka ngomhla we-13 kaMeyi esendleleni ebheke esikolweni ongekafunyanwa namhlanje iyasika inimba bomama mhlali ngaphambili lengxoxo mpikiswano yoluhlahlo lwabuwomali iqhubeka ngonyaka apho ohloniphekileyo umongameli welizwe utata uJacob Zuma ethe kwintetha yakhe yokuvula unyaka wathi lo nyaka ka2017 kunyaka wokuvuyisana nobomi bongasekhoyo utata uOliver Reginald Tambo ongeminyaka ilikhulu ukuba ebesaphila namhlanje kungoko sibone urhulumente waseMpuma Koloni esabela elokhwelo indlela zigudile ukusingisa enkantolo kwisithili saseMbizana kweliya laseMpuma Koloni kusisiwa inkonzo ezingundoqo kusisiwa imbizo nemibhiyozo khona ukuze abakhenkethi babe nomdla wokundwendwela lamandla. Honorable Chairperson, the Tourism Department has one entity known as South African Tourism, which is mandated to market South Africa internationally and domestically to make it a preferred tourist destination. Its business units, the South African Convention Bureau and Tourism Grading Council, contributed to the 13% increase in tourist arrivals. The visitor increase resulted in a booming tourism industry that has contributed to our gross domestic product. South African tourism received 53% of the department's budget in the 2017-2018 financial year. that amounts to 1.4 billion. The ANC is in full support of this budget, as it responds to the challenges of poverty, unemployment, and inequality as identified by the 53rd ANC National Conference that was held in Mangaung. The committee is also committed in monitoring the South African tourism through oversights and quarterly reports. Chairperson, the South African tourism continues to position South Africa as a leading business and shopping destination for the region. This will continue happening as Cabinet has also approved 20 million for the South African National Conventions Bureau to assist organizers to secure hosting rights. There are large amounts of money generated from delegate spending while attending conferences. The newly developed strategic plan of adding 5 million more tourists in 5 years is appreciated. The benefit of these additional tourists is not only job creation, but also an increase in tourism levy of South Africa. SAT brought South Africa and the world to South Africa when Durban in the KwaZulu-Natal province hosted the 2017 Africa Travel Indaba. South Africans and 21 other African countries took opportunity of the Indaba to exhibit their products. This Indaba was also used by the President of the Republic to launch a campaign called We Do Tourism. This campaign is aimed at promoting inclusive growth through committing everyone in playing a role in sustainable tourism development that will place South Africa in the top 20 tourist destinations in the world. To prove that transformation is realistic and can happen in our lifetime, 90 black-owned tourism businesses from all 9 provinces offered South African products, services, and experiences. Gubani othi asisebenzi etsho sisebenza. To reach transformation targets, South African tourism developed a transformation framework with 3 fundamental pillars. Chairperson, the Committee on Tourism congratulates owners of tourism establishments who are adhering to the grading system requirements. An appeal is made to the Grading Council to negotiate more benefits for graded establishments to remain graded, whilst encouraging new entrants to register in the system. The ANC also congratulates SAT in maintaining its clean audit status and on its commitment to utilize its available resources effectively and efficiently. We are committed in ensuring that there is value for money. The committee has committed the department to play a leading role in coordinating other role players and other departments to enable tourism to continue playing a pivotal role in the country's economy. I acknowledge the commitment displayed by members of the committee, the Ministry of Tourism, the department, South African Tourism, members of the boards, business councils, and all tourism stakeholders and tourism community in general. Without you, South Africa wouldn't be where it is today. Let's continue working together for our children and for the generations next to come. It is possible. Together, we can do it. We can build a better, safer South Africa. South Africa is our country. Africa is our continent. And this is our world. I thank you, Chairperson.
Sibonge kumhlonishwa uXego. Manje ngibiza umhlonishwa uFos.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. It fills me with pride to see in the gallery so many of our tourism role players join us today. And thanks to you, South Africa's tourism sector is a vibrant and growing one. And therefore, it's important for us to acknowledge the role that you play to build this important sector. But before I continue, Madam Chair, allow me also to make special mention of one of our guests here today who is representing the Tourist Guide Association. And therefore, I find it most fitting today also to announce that I'm currently completing my course in tour guiding, and I will soon join your ranks, because I think it's important to to actually get a better understanding of the work that you do as we promote our country and also the very significant places. And therefore, one must never underestimate the role that the Tour Guiding Association and all of those tour guides play in selling our country and promoting its unique cultural diversity. And therefore, it's also important to keep this industry well regulated, reliable and professional, and therefore we've heard today of many training programs that will be undertaken to make sure that this important sector receives the attention it requires. And therefore, I look forward to working with you as we tackle the many challenges that we face together. But, Madam Chair, moving on, I want to talk about the ongoing concern around the visa regulations. Now, the reality is that the tourism industry is still hurting as a result of these ill-conceived visa regulations, with reports informing of a 7.5 billion rand revenue loss and a decrease of about 600,000 tourists. And to make matters worse, roughly 13,000 people en route to South Africa during last year were turned away at foreign airports because they were not in possession of the relevant documentation. Now, although government has announced some concessions in this regard, the reality is that it's too little, too late. And the solution
Can technicians, what? Can you check there, the back, please? What is happening with the mics? No, the clock, it definitely has been stopped. Can you try again?
Well, Madam Chair, if I'm speaking from these benches, then it's important today that we do realize.
Okay, can I protect you, honourable members, please?
They're obviously overwhelmed.
Thank you for that welcome. Can we give him a chance then? You may continue, Honourable Ford.
Well, Madam Chair, thank you for the opportunity to speak from this side of the benches, and therefore I hope that you will agree with me that the solution lies to introduce electronic visas and also to scrap the unabridged birth certificate requirement so that we can make it easier for people to select South Africa as a destination of choice for travel and trade. But, Madam Chair, another matter of concern is the fact that the domestic tourism segment
Can you stop a little bit? Members in the gallery, maybe I forgot to inform you that you are highly and warmly welcomed here, but please do not participate in the debate. You are not even allowed to clap hands. Just listen, you appreciate, but really do not participate on what is happening here. Thank you very much. You may continue then, Honourable Foss.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Another matter of concern is the fact that the domestic tourism segment is also coming under pressure of a worsening economy. And linked to this is also the reality that domestic tourism in our country is just too expensive for many South Africans. And therefore, Madam Chair, we heard today of the plans to utilize state and municipal-owned assets for the advancement of tourism. Now, we concur with this statement since it was the DA originally proposing this, and therefore we call on the department to make sure that we develop tangible strategies to assist those municipalities that are struggling to maintain these holiday resorts. Because let's face it, many municipalities do not have the capacity to maintain and use these facilities to the advantage of tourism. So therefore, it would make sense for us to partner with the private sector to build on these resorts so that they can become affordable budget holiday destinations. Madam Chair, much has also been said about transformation today. Now, referring to the input from some of the speakers, I did not hear anything about how they intend to boost the demand for tourism. In other words, how they intend to increase the supply of tourists so that entrepreneurs and business actually have a market to sell their goods and their services to. So it seems, therefore, that the proposals mentioned here today assume that there will be a constant supply of tourists, both international and domestic, and thus seeks to transform only one side of the market without thinking about the other side. And therefore, a balanced approach is required to achieve growth in numbers and also growth in participants. And to this end, the DA believes that transformation should enhance workforce capabilities so that our people have the right skills to benefit from industry growth. And therefore, the DA is very supportive of the Tourism Incentive Program as one of the ways to boost tourismpreneurs in our society so that we build more places of accommodation, more small business enterprises within the tourism value chain by making sure that the Tourism Incentive Program works for all South Africans. This is real transformation. We also acknowledge the important role of cultural tourism in our society, and therefore the DA also strongly advocates for township tourism as a means to boost tourism within our country so that more South Africans can experience each other's cultures, because ultimately we have to find a way to get more South Africans to travel and to experience their own country and each other's cultures. And therefore we call on the department to invest in township tourism as a means to evolve cultural experiences, and that is where we need to start, because that would be also real transformation. We've got wonderful examples already of the Mabuneng Township Arts Experience, where there's one in Alexandra and another one in Langa. These are amazing places where we can see township tourism really works for the people. Langa, by the way, is situated in the Western Cape, where the DA is in government, sir. But, Madam Chair, we need to acknowledge the important role of township tourism as a whole. This is where we can really build small businesses, that we can increase the demand that makes business sense, and not come with fluff, but come with real tangible strategies to build it up from the ground. So, Madam Chair, this is where the department should be investing its time so that we can also create a culture for people to travel to those type of communities that desperately need a change, and that is real transformation. So, Madam Chair, another submission we are making today is the issue of the exorbitant aviation taxes. Research done in this regard clearly shows the inability of many South Africans to travel by air is as a result of the excessive travel costs involved. Now, transformation in this instance would mean making travel more accessible and more affordable to more people. The International Air Transport Association predicts that by 2034, an estimated 7.3 billion airline passengers will be taking to the skies, which is more than double the 3.5 billion in 2015. Now, in order to cope with this demand, airlines and countries need to have forward-thinking approaches and policies to make sure that we have cost-efficient infrastructure while at the same time supporting business growth. And therefore, we call on the Department of Tourism to establish a strategic aviation committee to investigate how aviation taxes can be reduced in order to stimulate tourism growth. The fuel levy and other taxes also need to be evaluated in terms of direct benefit to aviation and the opportunity cost associated with it. And thus, one way then would be to reduce aviation taxes as a way of lowering the cost of air travel so that more South Africans will have the opportunity to travel. Now, considering all of the aforementioned, Madam Chair, we strongly believe that the Department of Tourism needs to consider these forward-thinking policies and approaches, that we can take the tourism success that we see in many parts of our country, and especially here in our own province of the Western Cape, so that we can have many success stories throughout South Africa. Because considering all of the economic issues that our country is currently faced with, and also given the job losses in the mining and manufacturing sectors, we need the tourism industry to keep South Africans working. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Foss. I now call upon Honorable Makumele Mashele.
Honorable House Chair, good afternoon, honorable members. Radical economic transformation, honorable members, refers to the fundamental change in the structure, the systems, institutions, and patterns of ownership by control of the economy in favor of the poor, whom are Africans and female in majority. There is a need for a radical economic shift to address the inequalities, disparities, and transform the tourism sector. The core aspect of transforming the tourism industry is a change in the structure of the economy to ensure redistribution, creating of opportunities, and create decent work by protecting the rights of workers who are important players in this industry. If meaningful transformation is to be achieved in the tourism industry, we need transformations of this sector which is dominated by white people currently. Radical economic transformation is therefore not just a pipe dream as others think. It is but a well-thought strategy to emancipate our people from the clutches of poverty and redress the structural economic imbalances of the past. As such, for tourism, this should not just be a rhetoric, but be premised on tangible and practical implementable programs capitalized and driven by government. The Department of Tourism and its entity, South African Tourism, must be able to be at the forefront of radical economic transformation if tourism sector is to be transformed. We have been calling for the Tourism Department Development Fund from the previous two ministers in this portfolio. As we congratulate your new appointment, Minister Thokozile Xhasa, we are pinning our hopes that transformation will be at the apex of your priorities. We urge the minister to argue the case for tourism in cabinet in order for in a more robust manner than before. It is of grave concern to the Portfolio Committee of Tourism that this sector is always the afterthought of government programs. This concern was raised when tourism was not included in the National Infrastructure Plan project championed by the Presidential Infrastructure Coordination Commission. Again, tourism was not included in Operation Pakisa, as was only brought in 18 months down the line. As a result, the department is still working and putting together a plan to include the tourism sector in the Marine Coastal Tourism Project as Operation Pakisa. This is not acceptable. It is high time that this government as a whole recognize the contribution of tourism in the economy and its role in the creation of job opportunities. If we are to put radical economic transformation into practice, Minister, you must head an interministerial task team that will look into coordinating activities that contribute towards tourism growth. These include, but not limited to, Department of Transport developing a practical airlift strategy that will increase arrivals to South Africa, public enterprises such as South African Airways and Airports Company to ensure that we have direct routes to core markets and we address the costs of flying. Low-cost airlines must also play a role in introducing flights to smaller towns and cities to address the cost of flying. We know that some destinations in South Africa are just unaffordable for ordinary South Africans. Furthermore, government must provide funding avenues to assist emerging tourism enterprises and to start up businesses. It is not helpful, as the case in which other funding avenues, that the funding mechanism is put in place, the criteria are so stringent that the tourism SMEs do not qualify. Funding institutions must also realize, for example, that a vehicle is a tool of trade for a tour operator. Funding a building is also necessary for small players like BNBs to add more rooms in their stock. Most importantly, the private sector must provide trading opportunities for tourism SMEs. This means that the destination management companies must include smaller players in their itineraries. Small tour operators and accommodation establishments are struggling because they are excluded in the tour packages. The Department of Tourism with South African Tourism must work hard to ensure that these SMEs are included. The department can also redirect its own available funding, such as the Tourism Incentive Program, to assist emerging businesses instead of plowing back into their already established enterprises. The department must invest in viable community projects that will increase ownership by ordinary South African citizens. However, the department should ensure that community projects are viable through appointing management companies. The efforts that are made in projects such as the Witsishoek Mountain Lodge in Free State Province are appreciated, and much more of such collaborations must happen between private sectors and communities. South African tourism gets 53% of the department's budget, which is mostly used for marketing marketing internationally and business events. The irony of this return on investment is that most of this is realized by, or it's achieved by big business that are already established, and it does not filter back to SMMEs. It is about time that South African tourism also is at the forefront of radical economic transformation. The efforts of South African tourism to take SMMEs to Indaba as hidden gems is much appreciated. But it is just a drop in the ocean given the wide gap between the tourism SMMEs and the already established enterprises in the tourism sector. South African tourism should also ensure that their budget is also used for transformation. For an example, the white paper on development of and promotion of tourism in South Africa states that tourism should be government-led and private sector-driven and is community-based. It is therefore imperative for the government, through the leadership of you, Honorable Minister, in the department, that you lead this transformation of the tourism industry. Tourism exists, Honorable Members, in 5 dimensions. These are physical, products, services, hospitality, choice, and participation. Given this multiplicity of tourism and economic rents, this is prevalent for the tourism startup businesses. It is a daunting task for prospective emerging tourism entrepreneurs to replicate the same products as those that are in big businesses. Given the new international and national trends where tourism is now more dependent on experiences, the tourism products have become more experiential goods, thereby limiting opportunities for new entrants. The tourism industry, like many other sectors, still suffers from structural imbalances of the past. These structural economic patterns can be changed by ensuring meaningful participation of the previously marginalized communities. This means that there should be targeted efforts to encourage participation of Black people in the tourism industry. Given this historical context of structural exclusion of this tourism sector, it is imperative that government intervenes in harnessing and increasing support in supporting full potential of emerging tourism enterprises to achieve the objective of economic growth and inclusivity. This will directly contribute to reducing poverty, unemployment, and inequalities, and foster new nation building, deepen democracy, as all citizens will be given equal opportunity and conducive environment to participate and grow in the sector. Honorable members, the question that we must ask ourselves is whether the current BEE codes of good practice have what it takes to transform the sector. And if the response is no, then these BEE codes are not the panacea that can deal with the transformation challenges that we have in the country. The current triple BEE codes will fail just like the previous one. This assertion is premised on the fact that there is lack of supporting programs that assist Black people in accessing capital to improve ownership in the sector. Even the element of enterprise and supplier development built to the tourism codes is also overrated, as it depends on big businesses, those that are already established, to outsource to smaller emerging entrepreneurs. In supporting this budget, which is appropriated as just over 2 billion, our question is whether this budget can address all the challenges of transformation in this sector. And if the answer is no, honorable members, we must admit that the department needs more funding, and we as honorable members will play our part in ensuring that we do it. We ensure that the budget is used properly.
Your time is now expired.
Honorable members, we support this budget.
Thank you. And now recognize the Honorable Minister of Tourism. You will have 6 minutes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. May I take this time to thank all the honorable members who participated in this budget debate. Honorable Force, a floor crossed can never be recrossed. You were more positive when we were on this side than when we were this other side. Thank you very much. I am confident that the Department of Tourism's budget, being effectively deployed, will develop and grow tourism in a manner that addresses the fundamental challenges of our time. We don't want to argue more on some of what the honorable members are saying, but we want to put this into practice, and we come back to report to say what have we done. We want to enhance in terms of that demand and a supply that we're talking about, Honorable Force, that we have to ensure that we keep on enhancing on the numbers that are coming into the country, whilst we are developing further products by our people that would keep the visitors more into our country. And this is the opportunity for our people to participate. We are very clear to say, whether it is in business tourism, whether it is in leisure tourism, product development, whether we are targeting in townships and everywhere, we want to ensure that we work and ensure that our products, as we develop, are up to standards, and our grading council is going to be made sure to also have that targeted approach around those areas. But on top of it, we also are looking at working more with the private sector. We have a very good working relations with the private sector, because the private sector has been there. They are in the coaching and mentoring, but also opening opportunities for our SMMEs. And for instance, we've said to the South African tourism, I think already we can record some success in even the presentation of what we did at the Indaba to provide market access. It's not just about them being in that corner of Indaba, but what was done before in preparing them to be able to go and showcase themselves. But there's a program beyond that assists them for coaching and mentorship, and that is done by the private sector. But also, that program does not end with just showcasing once in such a platform. We are developing a program that seeks to see to what far they can develop in order for them to also contribute into the GDP and the jobs that we're talking about. So you must judge us as we're coming back in line with those programs and the targeted programs that we're talking to, that would target township tourism, urban tourism, that would target our rural areas, because we want the cross-section of all the experiences that we have in South Africa. Those are contained in our annual performance plan. And also that in terms of our approach, Chair, we are really appreciative of what the industry, what the portfolio committee has indicated, because even from the restructuring of the department, Honorable Chair, we have placed the concern of the portfolio committee to ensure that we have a monitoring and evaluation element within the department that would monitor how SAT functions, because SAT needs also to carry the mandate of the department. They must contribute to inclusive growth. They have to contribute to the jobs that we're talking to. We don't want to see those participants as volunteers that we would not know in future where they are going. We don't want to find ourselves continuously training those young people and we don't know where they are at the end of the day. We have to see them if they get absorbed or they are, helped to be their own entrepreneurs and take opportunities in the areas that we are opening up. We are very happy that in our midst we also have people who have, entered into one of new markets in South Africa. Women, they've cracked the business in Spain. Can we please see you, Tabanga, and the team that you're coming with? First of its kind that South African wine enters there. And they are black, they are going to supply wine, and they have a market there. So we're looking into really finding those who have been there to grow them further. Those who are at entry level, we must see them growing up until we are sure that they also can participate and open opportunities. But we are very clear that in the new markets that government creates, our target is to ensure that we take our black entrepreneurs to be the primary ones. So it means big business, you'll have to come along and follow them if you want to participate with them. But we also need your work. Lastly, Chairperson, we are also increasingly developing and supporting community-based projects, and we will reach out into our communities, involve them inclusively in tourism, and will ensure that tourism benefits communities directly. And in our rural areas where there is potential, we will come in. We will not just follow honorable members who come with one project because they want us to focus into that project. That is why, with the minimum
Honorable
resources
Minister,
that we have, we
your
will
time is now
have
expired.
a targeted approach that seeks to bring all of us, big business, small business, we as
Honorable
communities
Minister, your
and
time is
leaders to
expired.
really make a change in the lives of the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Members are reminded, order, honorable members. Members are reminded that the following debates will take place at 16:15 this afternoon. The transport budget vote in the National Assembly, the debate on police, including the Independent Police Investigative Directorate budget vote, will take place here in the Old Assembly, and the debate on arts and culture budget vote will take place in Committee Room E249. That concludes the debate and the business of this mini plenary. The plenary will now rise.